So we have Abyss out of the pay-per-view for reasons, Garza out of the pay-per-view for reasons, and to follow up on last month, Randy Savage out of the pay-per-view for reasons.
Yeah, but this one could be a positive.
A few we've talked to, this is from the Wrestling Observer, shared the viewpoint on Savage we mentioned here, although it's more of a problem of how the company handled it and not any defense. The belief is that when you're talking to a guy like Savage at that level, you should lay out the entire program and get a contract signature and agreement before even starting the program. That seems like
we call that the TNA like historical problem.
They do be love booking guys before they even have contracts.
I suppose they're at that stage where they're like, please, we just need some appearance. We'll take anything. If it works out, it works out.
Savage should never have pinned Jarrett on the assumption that he would be back to do the job in the singles match on the pay-per-view without it being agreed to. Another aspect not talked about is the long-standing lack of trust stemming from one of the most bitter promotional wars in history between the Poffel family and Jerry Jarrett, even though they made peace when it was over and did business together, and in a sense it was Randy becoming a star in the Jarrett territory against Jerry Lawler that gave him the exposure that led to WWF having interest in him. So the Jarretts and the Savages don't get along inherently, and now they're just screwing each other over one more time on the way out.
That's fun.
Dusty Rhodes and Jerry Jarrett both talked to Savage for 15 minutes on the 7th of December to lay out the scenario of Savage losing at the pay-per-view, and Savage was like, nah, fuck that, I'm going home.
That's fair enough.
This all happened 15 to 20 minutes before the review started, which threw a monkey wrench into everything since Savage was booked all over the show.
Oh no, 15 minutes.
It's a raw situation throwing these shows together. One of the funniest lines came from Bobby Heenan when someone noted to him that the Poffos don't trust the Jarretts. Bobby Heenan responded, the Jarretts don't even trust the Jarretts.
He's not wrong, and he's also the GOAT.
Bobby Heenan, who you will be seeing in 2005. There was no clue as to who they would go with in the main event at Last Word. At the tapings, the idea was to call Sting and try and use him as a stopgap, which they do kind of tease, because Dusty Rhodes is like, you won't believe the name on this contract. It's a huge surprise. It's actually a thriller. They drop the idea that it's a huge surprise real quick, but they do promote it for a week, that it's going to be a big surprise that's going to shock the wrestling world.
Should have just been Dustin Rhodes.
His son. That's nepotism, we call it.
Regardless.
So if you're wondering when in that week that they teased it was a big surprise, who were they looking for? The answer is always Sting in TNA history. It's like, who are they looking for? It's Sting. They're always looking for Sting, but Sting apparently is not bothered at the moment.
I mean, I think Sting, in comparison to everyone else in like a big title match like that, would have drawn better.
Yeah, because Sting doesn't really have like the sinking WCW stink on him, does he?
No, he's like a real star.
Yeah, he always had his aura. Even to the very end, he had his aura in WCW. And he had it in TNA, I guess, too.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, Sting's a TNA guy. Fuck WCW.
Jerry Lynn is planning to return to the ring in June. At this point, he intends to work indie shows on the weekend and continue to work for TNA as an agent. There is always a chance that TNA will want to use him as a talent, but the fact that he started as an agent before he worked as a talent has him questioning whether the company wants to let him perform both duties.
Oh.
Yeah, he does. You will see a Jerry Lynn match this year, but just one.
Woo! Oh.
A lot of roller coaster of emotions here in the Jerry Lynn segment.
I hope it's Jerry Lynn versus AJ Styles.
There is some more context in the Observer at one stage where apparently Jerry is a little hesitant to work with the modern X Division guys, partially because he's one of those old school guys who's like, make moves count. But also I think there's a little bit of him who doesn't think he can keep up anymore after Hoovy killed him.
Come on, Jerry, at them. Give names.
Yeah, these young kids, they're working too fast for Jerry Lynn.
I watched some Jerry Lynn stuff on a certain show today, Garrett.
Oh no.
on a certain show that you'll be watching after this is done.
Yes, our next episode, which will be in your podcast feed around Christmas, will be the WWA crossover episode with Days of Thunder, our friends. Which may not seem the case based on what they say on their shows, but they're pals of ours, huh?
I mean, they're pals of me for sure.
Well, yeah, me, maybe not.
They called me a professional.
Yeah, they just throw me under the bus.
Yeah. I mean, I think whoever started that really needs to take a just a long look at themselves and see how words can affect people's online perception.
They sure should. They sure should. But that'll be our next show, and then we'll be back in a month with the Against All Odds episode. But we will have Patreon stuff in between. If you like this show, you can subscribe for more Patreon content at patreon.com/kiddingme, tnachat.com.
Yeah, hour one.
I forgot to do it before we transitioned to the news, and I realized that when I went to plug the Days of Thunder episode. So here is the Patreon plug at the end of hour one. But yeah, you can go, and we'll be doing the end of the Wrestling Society X series in the next couple of weeks. We'll be doing our 2004 TNA draft, which I think is always a fun, good time. And our AEW ROH draft ended in a draw. So we really need to fight on this one. Our 2004 end of year awards, which, as we mentioned, I think in the watch long, is probably going to be the most difficult piece of audio we've ever done, coming up with some of those award winners.
I'm just still deciding if I want to like fly by the seat of my pants and just do it live, or if I want to actually think about it.
You want the emotional reactions. There's something to like choosing on an emotional basis.
Yeah, do I want to go off of vibes? But I like to like list like a 3 and then like have a runner up so we can talk about like who our thirds and stuff was. So who knows? So
that'll look up in your podcast and your Patreon feed over the next month or so before our Against All Odds.
We give out so much value for money.
Yeah, and all the old shows are there. We have, I think, over 90 or 80 pieces of audio. I think it's 90 pieces of exclusive audio. We have our entire Monday Night War series, if you haven't heard it, our entire Ring Cat King series, our entire Global Force Wrestling series, and our ongoing Reign Taker series, of which in the next month we will have the January 4, 2013 Wrestle Kingdom show. A very big, very good show. So we'll be having a review of that, and Reign Takers coming up as well in the next few weeks.
I'm sure that'll also be like a weird kind of like half de facto review of the I was gonna say the real Wrestle Kingdom. It's like, oh my god, it's the Women's World Cup all over again. But we'll be able to talk about the other one that is happening concurrently, which is a really big show as well. So maybe it's a little like weird mixed joint review thing.
And that show will also have Hooting and Hollering, so I'll watch it. Yeah,
Hooting and Hollering is back basically. So there you go. Garrett will finally be excited about Japanese wrestling again after 3 years. Yeah. Actually, like 4 or 5 years, because you weren't exactly hot on New Japan before the clapping began.
Yeah, I was like ahead of the curve on the people who were like getting cold on New Japan, I guess, at the time. Some people have gone to the really far extreme of that. But yeah, the clap grads have just, no, I can't.
Do I want to do this? My favorite guy, right?
Yes.
Is this current person who's like, oh, I'm gonna like tear down New Japan as if it's still like this hot 2016 thing that's like the biggest thing in wrestling. Like, there was a certain like contrarian thing to being like, aha, everyone's enjoying this thing in 2017. I'm gonna shit on it, right? But like, 20 people are watching it now. You're just punching down.
Move on with your life.
Like, seriously, like, go hate the things that are popular. Go, like, shit on, like, Raw and SmackDown because people like them now. Go shit on Dynamite. Like, go shit on stuff that people actually enjoy and are talking about. Like, New Japan has one good thing happen to them, or, like, one match that people are like, oh, that was pretty good. And, like, everyone just goes, oh, classic New Japan. Let's start tearing them down. Lol. Kota Ibushi and Naito in the Hall of Fame. Like, that's so funny when it's like, they don't do anything now. What do you want from them?
The New Japan Defender has logged on.
They don't even have crowds that make noise, and you still punch them down at them. It's just, there are actual things that are worth, like, shitting on, or at least relevant.